Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners for our work session, January the 7th, 2013. I haven't seen you guys since last year, so it's great to be here today, and we welcome all of you. As a reminder for those in attendance, if you have a mobile device, please put it on silent or vibrate so that it doesn't go off with your fancy ringtone during the meeting. Commissioners, there are a few changes on your agenda. So at this time, I would accept a motion that we approve the work session agenda with the changes. Have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. We're going to start with discussion items which will require no action on our part at the regular meeting. So first up, or I shouldn't say possibly no action. Let's start it that way. First up, we've got the QSCB project updates, Lynn Whitkey and Will Crabtree. If you guys want to come up, you can come up together. And whichever order you want to go is fine. Welcome.
Thank you.
Who went last? First? I mean, who went first last time?
I don't know. Mine's going to be short, so I'll go first. How about that?
That's fine.
Really, we only have one project left. Roof at KIS, Kannapolis Intermediate School. That's scheduled to be finished in the March timeframe. Moving right along with that, we finally came to some closure on the KIS, Kannapolis Intermediate School HVAC project. So that last pay application should be coming through in January. I looked at it today, and it looks like if everything goes as planned, we could potentially have about $20,000 left on the roof. That's where we're at.
Thank you. Mr. Whitkey?
Yes, thank you. I wanted to mention we are under construction on Northwest Gymnasium, so that work has begun. And I think the other thing that is most notable, working with county staff and also with our finance department, we are really pushing the contractors and consultants to close out as many projects as possible. So those that you see on our report that are marked 99%, 97%, and so forth, those are things that we've been waiting for, like closeout documents from the contractors, and then a final walkthrough or a sign-off, if you will, by the consultants on the projects, so that we can then finally tell DPI that that project is complete and finished. For all intents and purposes, the construction of those projects has been done for some time, and we were just struggling to get the closeout documents. So we are having success with that. We have just recently, before the first of the year, all of the IT projects, save one, were provided to us, all of the closeout documents, and so that consultant is reviewing them this week, and hopefully we'll be able to sign off of those. The only one that's remaining there is Weinkauf, because it was started a little bit later, and they are doing a final walkthrough this week as well on that project. And any other questions, I'll be happy to entertain.
Commissioners, any questions? Okay. There's none at this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Both. I also recognize, I know School Board Chairman Lynn Shue just walked in as you were getting started, and Kelly Klutz is back there also. I don't know if you're a show of support, but
thank you.
Thank you all for being here. Next up, Brian King. I know I saw Brian come in. There you are. Happy to welcome you back, Brian. It's been a couple months. I know you've been quite busy.
Yes. Happy New Year.
We had agreed, Happy New Year. We'd agreed on the Rotary Square project and thought it would be timely for us to get an update from you, and hopefully this will also be a way for you to get some publicity on the project.
Absolutely. And
so we're glad that you're here.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Poole. Yes, since last spring we've been very busy. After we finally got the green light from you guys to move forward with our planning, that was, we worked with our architect, Yates Kreitzberg, and our contractor who's in our club, CM Black Construction. They've been helping us come up with a good budget, and so we feel very comfortable about our capital campaign. Once we sort of zeroed in on that number, we began a soft or silent campaign with major donors to make sure that the community had the interest with the larger dollars. We've had very good response on that, and within the next 30 days, we feel like we're ready to do a press release along with the artist renderings. A lot of our plan design we kept in mind, well, not kept in mind, we followed exactly some of the requirements that you guys wanted, and we talked, you know, all our meetings with Kyle. But we're excited, and when we do this press release within about 30 days, we're going to go to the public with our campaign. And I'm very happy to say that we have, you know, done a good job. A lot of partnerships have been forged too, which has helped us from the funding standpoint, which we're going to be excited to talk about within the next 30 days as well. But this thing is definitely going to happen now, and the community is very excited about it, and I think you all will be proud of what we're all doing as a community. Any questions?
Any questions?
What's the flexibility of the space? I know that we were talking in the past, conceptually, a farmer's market / ...
Right. I think that the purpose of this always has been to be a multifunctional use, and as we've gone out in the community and talked to different folks, you always hear other folks brainstorming about, you know, I don't want to speak for organizations, but, you know, we've envisioned art shows or live performances, or, you know, live theatrical type things, maybe like an old courthouse theater type thing, maybe a pottery show, or, you know, just different things like that, in addition to the farmers market being a main feature. So I just think it's a place where our community gathers, and I think it's going to have a lot of uses. So.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And Steve, I believe you are, I don't know if you're on the same Rotary Club.
Different
but
club.
But you are familiar with the project.
Familiar with the project,
Okay.
yes.
I thought you probably were, but I wanted to make sure in case you had any extra questions. So thanks a bunch. We'll look forward to your press release.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
And we'll let you know before we release that too, by the way. We'll clear that with somebody here.
There you go. That would be great. Next, we're happy to welcome Noel Scott, and I know you have some folks that you're going to introduce, I believe, from the Cabarrus Arts Council to do a presentation.
Thank you. Dan Boone, our Vice Chair, and I are here just simply to get you up to date to what the Arts Council is doing, and to thank you for your support, both financially and with the historic courthouse building. One of the interesting things, I think, is that now we have, as you know, all 3 floors are in use. We count every head that comes into the building, and we have an average of 250 people a week that come in, and I think that's just outstanding. We're very excited about it. It seems to be really helping the restaurants downtown, helps to pull the community together, and that's one small piece of what we do. What I'd like to do, hopefully it's working, is just to show you a 6-minute video that some of you all have seen before that gives a nice synopsis of what we're doing and what we're doing with your funding.
The Cabarrus Arts Council energizes our community through arts excellence. Arts Council programs reach into the schools and across the community, touching over 300,000 participants every year with programs of excellence. It supports arts projects throughout the county to nurture an environment rich in creativity. The arts build community pride and develop community identity. The Arts Council created a Center of the Arts in Cabarrus County's historic courthouse. On Stage of the Davis brings professional touring productions to Cabarrus County. Audiences are amazed and delighted at the talented performers that are appearing here at home. From browsing in the galleries before the show, to the opportunity to meet the performers afterward. On Stage of the Davis provides an audience evenings to remember. The Footlight Series showcases outstanding regional musicians playing bluegrass, jazz, folk, country, and sometimes Celtic or Cajun music. Casual, relaxed, and fun describe these evenings of great music. The galleries display 5 exhibitions a year, featuring acclaimed regional, local, and national artists. Over 9,000 people of all ages visited last year. Trained docents guide visitors through the galleries. School groups, book clubs, garden clubs, and scout troops enjoy touring the galleries. As part of each exhibition, professional artists are invited to talk about their inspiration and demonstrate their techniques. The gallery shop features pottery and other fine handcrafted gifts. Thousands of people head to downtown Concord for art walks. Independent films are shown each month on our movie screen at Modern Film Fest at the Davis. Almost 200 volunteers dedicate their time to our programs. The Arts Council is dedicated to educating our children. Students take part in the arts, provides important art and education programs to our school children. The Cabarrus Arts Council brings professional performers to almost 30,000 students and teachers each year. All schools in Cabarrus County and Kannapolis City School systems, as well as several private schools, participate in these curriculum-related performances. Every program has a study guide that is directly tied to the curriculum. Without this program, many of our students would never experience live music, drama, opera, storytelling, and dance. The arts open children's eyes to new possibilities and broaden their world. Arts education develops analytical minds and our leaders of tomorrow. Partnerships make arts funding go a long way. The Arts Council distributes grassroots grants from the North Carolina Arts Council. Recipients include the Cabarrus Art Guild, Choral Academy, North Carolina Music Hall of Fame, Old Courthouse Theater, Piedmont Choral Society, and the Southern Piedmont Woodturners. Kannapolis Parks and Recreation for the Charlotte Symphony and other arts programs in Kannapolis Parks. Hospice and Palliative Care's Interlude Music Program for patients. The Logan Daycare Association's Music Program for young children. The Multicultural Student Union's Dance Program for at-risk youth. The Cabarrus Arts Council is a catalyst for the arts in our community. Its core values are integrity, creativity, professionalism, diversity, teamwork, and service. It is overseen by a volunteer board of directors that includes members from Concord, Kannapolis, Harrisburg, Mount Pleasant, and Midland. The Arts Council's budget is lean and balanced. We are careful with the funds that have been entrusted to us. The Arts Council provides and nurtures high-quality programs that make our community a better place to live, work, and go to school. The arts stimulate the economy and attract visitors to our community. The arts help us remember who we are and dream of new possibilities. And with your support, the Cabarrus Arts Council will continue energizing our community through arts excellence.
I hope you can see by the video that we are very intentional about serving the entire county of Cabarrus County, and we'd like to answer any questions you may have, or just leave it at saying thank you very much.
Commissioners, any questions?
I don't have any questions. I just have a couple comments. You know, I've certainly been in the galleries a number of times and have enjoyed it. And I know the Seagrove pottery, really enjoyed that. And looking forward to the opening the new exhibit. So thanks for all you guys do, and I know a lot of citizens in Cabarrus County really enjoy the Arts Council and everything they have to offer, and so thanks a lot. You guys are very well organized.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah,
And just, oh, I'm sorry.
One of the things, we've been fortunate to be able to go see a lot of the shows, and the last show we went to was the Parchment Hour, and if you don't know, it's the Freedom Riders that went through the South. It was interesting that one of my children, before the show, picked out the person who wrote and directed it as being, I just went forgot. But anyway, picked him out as being someone who's come into the school system.
Mike Wiley.
And done a program, and actually went up and started speaking to him and talking to him, which is unusual. I'm glad that he took the time to talk, but also to understand what the show was about, and then to actually have a person that was on one of the rides be in the audience, and the children to go talk to him and understand what was going on at that time was very powerful. So that I piggyback on Commissioner Meismer is that you'll do an excellent job, not only with the shows that you present, but also what comes up. And I appreciate you doing local, because one of the young ladies that you showed is from here, downtown Concord. And what she's able to do, and then a lot of the Footlight series is from local groups. And there's a show this Thursday night, right?
That's right, the 17th.
Okay.
Yeah.
The 17th. So you have that, and then also the Modern Film Festival. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I would just echo what's already been said, and having had the opportunity to participate in a lot of the events, that they are exceptional, and certainly the impact that's made on the school children. And I think a lot of people are not aware of how many are touched in those programs. It makes a tremendous impact, not to mention the exceptional use that you make of historic property here in the county that might otherwise not have productive use. So thank you for all of that.
Well, we appreciate you coming out and sharing with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, next we've got Shannon Johnson here for the Council for a Sustainable Local Economy to give us an update. And I thought you had somebody with you, but I wasn't certain.
Good afternoon. Hi, Josh is actually going to give us an update. He's the chair of the Regulatory Committee for the Council.
Good afternoon, everyone. Josh Knipp. I was here a few months ago. We had the county commissioners given charge to the Council for Sustainable Local Economy. One of the charges was to identify obstacles in the business community of Cabarrus County. In one effort, we had those 3 regulatory tours last year, one in Kannapolis, one in Concord, one in Mount Pleasant. We have gone back since last time we were here in front of you, have gone back and refined after meeting with the Cabarrus County Planning and Development departments, and come up with 3 recommendations, which I believe you all have a copy of in front of you there. Basically, the Cliff Notes version is, number 1 recommendation is to market and really educate the public about the pre-application construction meeting as the most important part of any project. Through our conversation with the Planning and Development, basically have come to the understanding, and this is from the hearings we had, the tour, listening tour, basically came to understand that people were more concerned about the procedure rather than any sort of code or any text that is really causing problems as a barrier. It's more procedural and kind of getting their questions answered. So the first thing that was brought up from actually the county side of things was if we could promote and educate the community on the importance of this pre-application construction meeting. An example of just folks who buy a piece of land prior to investigating what they can actually do with it. We would like to try to minimize that. Second, and we could do that through the Small Business Center with Rowan Cabarrus Community Center, and college, I'm sorry. We can do that with them. We already have a business seminars we did last year. We're going to be doing those again this year, and we can kind of supplement those with kind of an emphasis on this pre-planning meeting. The second one was to create a PowerPoint tutorial on how to navigate the county website for a construction project, zoning, ordinances, or any other questions related to development. Last time we were here, it was mentioned by Commissioner White, had mentioned about maybe making kind of a YouTube video, and that can be done as well with this, but our thoughts were create something that walks people through that if they wanted to develop, and the idea would be that it could be then sent out to real estate agencies, things of that nature. Monday mornings they have training sessions or staff meetings. They could look through that, especially commercial, and then they could pass that on to someone from outside the community who's looking to invest in Cabarrus County. And then the third recommendation was to assign a liaison to work between the county and the municipalities that explains the different steps and individual departments that a person may have to navigate to complete a project. So they want to buy something in the county, obviously they have to deal with Concord or Kannapolis or Mount Pleasant. Basically just want to talk about that, and then also place the proper contact information on the county website. We had discussed with the planning and zoning department just certain things that could be beefed up on the website, and that's more of kind of an internal thing that I think they can work on. But ultimately, those were our three recommendations. Obviously, very limited, I think, resources would be needed from the county, other than a little bit of time from planning and zoning, especially maybe that third part. And then the CSLE us could certainly help with the first part and even the second, just kind of creating those tools for the community. That's all I have. I'm open to any questions.
Any questions?
I was curious as to what kind of participation you had at the 3 meetings, the turnout numbers.
They were relatively low, as I mentioned that, and I realized you're on the board now. Welcome. But the Kannapolis one was very low, but then the Concord and Mount Pleasant were pretty decently attended. It was mainly the same kind of responses. Folks just didn't have I guess, understanding of what the process was, more than we originally thought we'd go in and someone would have specifics, hey, this is what, barrier or obstacle that got in our way. I think we had maybe, like I said, 2 or 3 people at Kannapolis, and then we had about 20 to 25, I think, at the Concord and Mount Pleasant. So decent enough turnout, definitely enough that showed there wasn't interest in the, in having their voice be heard. But
right.
Again, not a whole lot. I think we got a little bit more out of, and my notes are available. I can get those to you as well. We got a little more out of when I met with the planning and zoning department of how they see day to day what could be done, maybe to help everyone out.
Right. So you really didn't have anybody show up and say, this particular regulation is creating a problem. To me, it was more the process.
Yeah, I don't recall a specific, and I know there were a few. There were a couple. Again, I can get you the notes and make it, we can discuss that as well. But there were a couple that had specific projects that were hindered. And again, I think most of it actually ended up being specifics with the city rather than a county reg.
Right.
But I would have to look back at my specific notes to let you know that. But I don't recall a specific part of the county code that anyone pointed to and said this needs to be changed.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
What's the time frame that you're going to try and implement these 3?
That we've been working with the county. I think number 1 can be done, like we're already starting that. That would be done with the seminars that we're putting on, I believe, starting this spring, correct? Number 2, that I'd have to defer a little bit to the county on, the planning on, and then the 3 is really kind of on you all really to decide how quickly or not quickly you want to implement that. So time-wise, not long. I mean, it'd be very quick to implement these 3 things.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'd just like to add, I think these are great. We have worked with them now, and Josh, good job with this, with the follow-up, Shannon, you as well. Jonathan and myself and Kelly Sifford and Susie Morris, we've met with the city officials as well, Concord and Kannapolis, and we're talking about other ways that we can facilitate this process, and one of them is we actually have a construction or a permitting software that we're working with the city of Concord, and then hopefully potentially maybe Kannapolis as well, whereas when the plans are submitted to us, right now you have to submit to several different locations, and you don't really know, once you submit them, you don't really know what's going on with them between jurisdictions, and we're working on that, where they're looking to get software so that you can go in from any location and you can see where on the process, whether it's through the city process or through the county process, where your permit's at and what's the next step in that type of thing. So we are listening as well from the group, and we're moving forward with some of these and implementing some of these. So it's a good thing. The liaison, where we think right now, an immediate response is that we can do a lot of that in-house. If it gets to the next step of a more elaborate program where there is actually one person and that's their sole responsibility, right now we have people who are, for lack of a better word, cross-trained or multitask daily. So they can do that now. If the activity continues to increase, then of course it would be where we would look to select one of our current staff, our added staff, that's all they do, is meet with the general public and teach them or instruct them or sort of tutor them all the way through the process. Right now, we feel we can do it with our current staff, but again, hopefully business gets much better and businesses are opening and our entrepreneurs are moving forward, that it may need a permanent staff person. So,
When someone comes in, whether it's in the construction, any permit, wherever it is, that requires a response from the county, if we're not able to give an immediate response, in other words, we've got to review plans, we've got to review something, is there a time frame given as to when the county employee is going to get back with that person?
I'll let Jonathan, you want to answer that, John?
Yes, I mean, that's one of the reasons why we want to have those initial meetings, so we can get that immediate feedback, and then it's back and forth from that point on. I think initially, a lot of it is just sitting down face to face and making those contacts so that it's telephone calls instead of emails or no response.
Yeah, because my hope is that as we're trying to help the public, that it's not, well, just give me your paperwork and I'll see you when I see you.
Right.
I want to make certain that, at least from our end of it, we are able to say, we'll get back with you in 2 hours, 2 days, so that at least they know what the time frame is.
And we do that. We definitely want to move the plan. We've had, fortunately, the plan volumes that we, at times, have even been backed up. We brought some inspectors in to help move those forward a little faster so that we can respond even quicker to them.
One of the things that Commissioner Burge has brought up in the past is that when you come in one day, the rules are A, B, and C, and when you come in the next day, it's D, E, and F, and when you come in the third day, it's X, Y, and Z. Now, he's never been specific as to being the county, but if it is the county in regards to changing rules, changing regulations, or whatnot, is there a way that we could, the group that it affects, they have, either send out an email blast if they'll give us their email addresses, or somehow so that they don't get all their paperwork together for the A, B, and C, and whether it's 6 months ago or whether it's 6 hours ago, they come back in and now they got to do D, E, and F.
Yeah. Well, most of the time when you actually submit, the rules you submit under are the ones that you have to adhere to from that point on. You are vested under the rules you submit. So, and there are some cases, I wish it never happened, but there are some cases where you're reviewing plans, you give them red lines, you ask them to make changes, in other words. They come back and you discover something you missed that does not meet code or does not meet the requirements. And so occasionally you do have to get back with them and say, I missed this one, but it does need to be changed. We try and minimize the amount of those.
Okay, well, maybe from the CSLE, CSLE,
Sorry.
the idea is to get, is to help us get the word out that before you come to, I don't think our rules, I don't believe our rules change from month to month or 6 months to 6 months. But if you haven't done a project in 6 months, here's your starting point before you even come down here to make certain what information you need.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what I like about what it seems like you're trying to accomplish.
That first step, yeah. I believe that's our first recommendation is to just get that out to the business community, get that out to the development community.
Okay.
And some
Contact
of
the county first, before anything else.
And some of those contractors may not have worked in Cabarrus County or more importantly, not in North Carolina with the building code. And we do this with economic development clients too when they bring them to us, is we try and pull in if it's a business that wants to develop in Kannapolis. So they're dealing, it would be Kannapolis Fire then reviewing as part of the code plus our building reviewers. try and pull them all into one room. So you're not having to go through multiple meetings. We can get them in one place, everybody look at it together, and minimize those things you would then potentially have to bring up later, that they can get everything at one time.
Okay.
I think one of the problems is the person you talk to today gives you an answer on something, and you talk to somebody else tomorrow with the county or the city or whoever, and between those two people, you're going to get two different answers. You're not going to get the same answer from people. And that's the problem with most of the construction, is you got too many people who don't know what the rules are, or they each want to have a different interpretation of what the rules are. And I think that's one of the biggest problems. It's not necessarily the rules change every day, but the people who make the rules, enforce the rules, don't have the same interpretation of the rules.
Well, while we have people that multitask and they know the local ordinances and the state laws pretty much in a general sense, but ultimately there is one person in each of our department as well as the city department who is charged with that ultimate interpretation. And that's who, typically for us, that's who sits in those meetings, are those people with the final answers. If you're just coming in or making a phone call, then there may be a possibility there. But if you make that face-to-face visit, the people who make those final interpretations do sit in those meetings. So that's why that step number one is the most important of all of this, is to come in and sit face-to-face with that person who is that one that makes that decision. So, but I agree. There are times when you have people come in and Rich may interpret it one way, I may interpret it another way. But we try to avoid that by making sure when you have that face-to-face meeting that all of those people who make those decisions on a staff level are in that meeting with you.
And also Commissioner Burgess' comment, I think was definitely heard multiple times at these meetings, and I think step 3, or what Mr. Downs just mentioned about maybe this software getting in place, should be able to help that out, I would imagine. Because I think a lot of it ended up being a county interpretation than a city interpretation, or not even interpretation, more of it was a county procedure than a city procedure. Then they didn't know that they had to do both of them. So things like that, once that's possibly implemented, that would help, hopefully, that comment.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next, we have Aaron Newton. I was hoping you were behind me. To give us an update on the Elma C. Lomax Incubator Farm.
Good afternoon, and I've got David Goforth from Cooperative Extension joining me. I wanted to come in this evening and give you an update on the Elma C. Lomax Incubator Farm in regards to the 4th season that we just completed, the 2012 season. We had a total of 13 farmers in training as a part of the program, 3 who were in their first year of training and 10 who have been with us at least 1 year previous. We also added a community garden component. There's a big demand for this within the community right now. We have the space, we have people with expertise on site on a regular basis, and some of the equipment we needed to be successful. So David Goforth sort of spearheaded a pilot program there of a community garden on site at Lomax. We had 14 participants. So that was, we felt like we had an early success with that, and we have increased interest, and looks like we will be doing that again for 2013. In addition, we had Central United Methodist with 1 plot there aimed largely at growing more food than you would in the community garden, and pushing that food into the food access, hunger relief community efforts here within Cabarrus County. We have 4 beekeepers in addition to those farmers who are at Lomax and have their own bees, and we have an area set aside for that. And then we just recently added our first non-production based business that's incubating out of Lomax Farm. This is a small-scale distribution company making local food available to consumers within the community. So in regards to the farmers, we did tweak some of the strategies that we've used in the 3 previous years in regards to how we're training them. We're bringing them in more on a trial basis now, giving them limited access to land and equipment, and then if they show that they have the resources and the time, we're scaling them up within the program, and that's worked very well. We're going to focus this year on production planning, which is a skill they really need to be successful as farmers, as well as plot management and business, which is really about distribution for them, and marketing, business development. They will continue to do routine maintenance and operational duties at the farm, as well as fill out the paperwork that goes along with the certified organic, the organic certification for the farm. We did receive an organic certification for 2012, and we will be reapplying for our 5th year in 2013. One of the real successes I felt like this year was we shifted the course curriculum for the beginning farmer class online, and David was really the architect of that effort, so I'm going to let him talk a little bit about what that looks like.
We've taken and put it online. We've got 24 modules, which is an introduction and a conclusion, final exam, but basically 22 topics that are now online, which allows the people coming into the program to immediately start instead of waiting for the next available class, and allows us to constantly pick up new people that are there. We've got 18 people that have signed up for the course that are taking the course right now. A few of those are the ones we participate in farmers we've got out there, but we've got 7 new people, and 6 of them have expressed an interest in obtaining a plot out there when one becomes available.
In regards to the programming, and that's really the focus of Cooperative Extension at the farm, we're looking at a more of a set schedule for staff. So myself as farm manager trying to be on site the better part of Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Monday mornings, and then as needed with Cooperative Extension, not only running a series of meetings throughout the month, but also being available on a drop-in basis to help answer the questions and teach the skills that these farmers in training are going to need, and answer the questions the community gardener is going to have. Every month for January, February, March, there are a series of teaching sessions that go along with the online course, and that's in addition to a monthly farmer meeting, as well as a monthly community garden meeting, and then we're having quarterly on-farm work days, which is usually on a weekend where we're tackling a particular project using volunteers and the farmers in some of the community gardens. So that's been real successful in the past. I listed here, and I'm happy to answer any questions about facility issues that we know we're going to tackle that came up in 2012 that we're hoping to tackle in 2013, as well as some general building needs. And then lastly, a list of projects, some master planning that needs to be done on the farm in terms of the long-term viability of that land base and the sustainability of that farm, including some mapping. We have our first perennial crop plot going in this year, which will be some asparagus, project spearheaded by one of our farmers in training. Some beneficial habitat locations, potentially rehabbing the existing farm pond and developing the entrance a little bit better. We are hoping to host a fall fundraising event as part of the 5th annual Know Your Farm Charlotte Regional Farm Tour. Lomax has been on the farm tour for all of its first 4 years. Had 150 people come through the farm this past September. They are adding a spring tour that they've asked us to be a part of in May 11th and 12th of this coming spring. And then also this fall, we're hoping to parlay the tour into a ticketed event that would help to raise funds for the farm, with the goal again being to try and get operationally self-sufficient as quickly as possible. We have a couple of other things we want to do, including development of a HACCP, a health and safety plan, volunteer tracking, and also the redevelopment of the nonprofit 501c3 board of directors that's associated with the project. Are there any questions about 2012 and what we've been able to accomplish out there?
I'd like to add a couple of success stories to that too. One of the things that we're doing quite frequently is bringing other people from other counties that want to do something similar to this. And this past year, 2012, we had 10 different tours with a total of 217 people that come in with the idea that they would create an incubator farm themselves. And we found there's a couple of counties. New Hanover has started a program for people coming out of prison, or inmates in prison, to teach them, or halfway house, I'm not sure exactly how it is, but teaching them how to farm based on our program. And then the county right north of there, which I'm drawing a blank now, the county between New Hanover and Pennard County, is they have actually purchased 10 acres, or got a lease on 10 acres that they will be doing something very similar to what we're doing here. And they're actually, academic program is pretty much identical to what we developed here. They're copying that and starting that in February to do another one down on the coast. And then we had the people from Moore County and Orange County both were in looking at doing something similar down there if possible. So we are somewhat seen as the best in the state of incubator farms, And people that have traveled extensively and visited quite a few extensive farms, they're saying that Intervale is the only one that's better than us right now, as an example of how other people need to do this.
Our farthest, if I could add, our farthest visitor flew in from Wyoming to check out what we're doing over at the farm. So I thought that was getting a good bit of coverage.
The other thing I'll mention is our total count. We decided to keep a total count of our successes over the course of the program, which is 4 years right now. And over the 4 years, we have now got 8 people that we can identify by name that have inherited land or purchased land or leased land, and they are now farming. So those successes are there, and then we've got others that are looking to try to do that. We've got the one that we mentioned about purchasing the food distribution system that's operating that. That individual actually relocated from Mecklenburg County to Cabarrus County to do farm and do this particular business. And in addition to that, we've got 3 individuals that we've trained out there that have went on to do something related, have some job related to the skills they learned out there. The one I do want to mention is one lady that was out there, learned at the farm. She is now working for Davidson College, and they've given her a couple of acres and given her the money to set up a farm on Davidson College to provide the cafeteria there at Davidson. So that is one of our graduates and another success story.
What age are these people?
The ages have run from age 18 up to 65.
Now, I heard some news report the other day said the average farmer in this country was 57 years old. If that's true, another 20 years, we're going to be in trouble if somebody don't start farming.
Nature says those people can't continue, yeah.
Our food system assessment showed that number in Cabarrus County is about 59 years old. So.
I'd like to ask about the distribution company that has started up. How does that work? Are they distributing to businesses or restaurants within the county, or to individuals, or what
They have an
exactly?
individual subscription. It's online individual subscription is the way I would describe the business model.
I see.
And they have, it's both actually within Cabarrus County and Mecklenburg County. They've got distribution sites within Charlotte and within Cabarrus County.
Okay.
Are they distributing products that are grown at the farm, or do they bring products in from other places as well? Or
The products are from the farm, from Cabarrus County farmers, and there's a few value-added products that they've picked up from Mecklenburg County for sure, and perhaps you may know this better than me, but do they have any from Stanley or?
Rowan.
Stanley, Rowan. There's a few other neighboring local distribution, but it's not bringing anything in that's traveled over 300 or 400 miles.
It's a very innovative operation, I think, because it allows the farmers on a weekly basis to upload to the website what they have available. And then at a certain cutoff point, then it allows the customers to go on and buy a la carte what they would like. And then all that's totaled up. And then when they get to the drop-off location, what they've purchased is in their basket. Right. But we're not talking here just about vegetables, although they are serving a need we have out at the farm, which is moving product with these with these new farmers in training. But also proteins. You can get baked bread. You can get beef, pork, and chicken. Spices, some eggs. Yes, and so it's honey, some other products that they're bringing in from around the region.
so exactly what do they do? I mean, is there some warehouse space on the farm where they assemble this together? What are their activities there?
What we identified was some dry storage space that we weren't using at the farm, that we were able to, and it doesn't take much because everything sort of happens on Friday with drop-offs from the farmers. And then on Saturday, the food's being distributed out to drop locations where the customers are picking it up. But we were able to identify some office space and some dry storage space to help them to have a place to store and sort and aggregate.
Right. As far as participating farmers, is there a waiting list, or are you able to handle folks that apply? How is that capacity working?
We have been able to accept everybody up until now. We've got 2 spaces that are available for this coming year. We'll be able to accept 2 out of the 6 that have expressed an interest. And we've got a year that's going to give us a crunch for this year, but then the following year, we'll have several of the ones that are there. We'll have to move on.
Right.
been told by the county manager that it's 3 years and out, that nobody would be there more than 3 years to block somebody else from getting in. They've either got to figure it out in 3 years and move on. And so we'll have several reaching that 3-year mark next year. And the other thing we've run into is a little bit with the facilities. We're having to take some time to get a few of these plots up to speed. We don't want to put somebody in there on a plot that's going to have too many weeds for them or going to have poor soil conditions. And so we're renovating a couple of spots this year. I feel like we may have to, some of these people may have to wait a year to get in, but after that, we should be able to accept the people that have expressed interest now.
So it's not been high enough that you really feel like it would be feasible to have more available? Or is that, I mean, let's say if you had 20 people that wanted to come out there, is the space available to expand that if that happened?
I think 20 would be pushing the capacity of what we could do, even if we had everything that we'd like to have ready to farm, farmable. And that's just vegetable production. If we had more area, we would probably expand into some protein, some egg layers, and some chicken production, and go from there.
The other thing that we see in other places, like Intervale, for example, Intervale brings people in there, and it's a permanent situation, not a training situation. So they bring people in there that they will lease them farmland, and the lease may go for 10, 12 years. That's the other way we would, if we had room to expand, we would stretch some of these things out for people that are having difficulty finding other places instead of moving them on out. It's been surprising to me. I thought there would be plenty of spaces out there, but we have had difficulty getting additional spaces identified for some of the people that are moved on. People are not familiar with leasing for vegetable production here in Cabarrus County, and I think that's been part of the problem, and people not understanding how it works, not seeing other examples of how it works, and it being relatively new. We've not had the abundance of places to lease that we thought we would.
Do you see that improving as people become more educated and this happens more often?
Well, I think part of the process is that we have to do a better job from day one of helping that brand new farmer identify where they want to be in 3 years, so that we can begin that transition process on day one. At least from our standpoint of trying to help identify what they're looking for. If they're looking to farm blueberries, or if they're looking to do row crop production, or if they're looking to, they definitely want to own, or they're not interested in owning, they'd rather lease, then we can begin to help them identify that property well in advance, so they're not getting into year 2, year 3, and that's when we start the transition. So that's something that we can do better on our end, but in terms of the general farming community being more open to, or having a better understanding of that, I haven't really thought about how to tackle that.
One of the things that's happening out here is the farmers are wanting to continue in the present use value system, and the traditional way of doing that is to convert into timberland. And we've had 2 or 3 times when we've approached somebody and they've just done that recently. They've converted to timberland. It's not available for us to rent, lease as farmland. So I think it's something that as people know more about that, these 59-year-old farmers will not make that choice to go to forest land as quickly as they would to go to a leased operation, lease system.
So it's just as financially feasible for them to do the lease situation as opposed to going to forest land?
Both of them would keep you in the present value deferred taxation.
And you have options, you have to be at 20 acres for the forestry program just to remain in, but you can drop down to 10 acres if you're in row crop production. So you may have areas where that wouldn't be applicable because they don't meet that 20-acre criteria.
Thank you.
What are some of the things being produced out there at the farm, that vegetables that is actually being successful for the farmer?
When we apply for organic certification, we have to put a crop list down, and we have 253, was one year we had 253 crops that were planned on being planted that year. Most of the successful ones are the ones we normally eat, the tomatoes, the carrots. For some reason, they do an excellent job with carrots out there, if y'all hadn't had a chance to try some of those. But they do a good job with lettuce, and Those are the major ones, but they'll produce, like I said, 253 different cultivars of vegetables were being produced out there, including a couple things I have personally never seen, but they were not real profitable when it come right down to selling those items.
We've done really well with the leafy greens. We had one group experiment with some ginger production out there last year, and were really successful for the price per pound they were getting at market. And as David mentioned, a little of everything else.
How about the logo, being able to have farmers, local farmers use y'all's logo to show it's been locally grown, so at the farmer's market, people can go up and know it's grown here in Cabarrus County as opposed to being trucked in, and well, I shouldn't even say that, not being locally grown.
We do have several farmers who are using the logo. You know, we have established farmers. It's on the Barbie's banners and a lot of their promotional material. But then also I know Alan and Barbara Hall, who are one of our beginning farmers. They're using it on their invoices and on stickers that are going out on their packaged products. Another farmer, Kate Brunn, who grows microgreens in Harrisburg, who's gotten picked up now by Cisco for distribution, and just got mentioned in one of Oprah's publications. It has the locally grown logo from Cabarrus County on all the microgreens that she ships out. So we've seen limited success. Food Policy Council is going to look at a bigger push to get more businesses to adopt that logo in the coming year, but then also looking at the distribution and prepared food folks doing so as well. So getting the restaurants who can meet a pretty low baseline criteria for using that product to be able to use it as well.
Now also, when you're talking about the distribution, is there distribution as to canned products, or even is that something that can be done?
It would be the high osmotic pressure canned items would be the ones that are most likely to be qualified. A few of those are available, and there's also one individual, although he happens to be in Mecklenburg County, that is doing the pickles and are a low pH item. Those are the only type of canned items that we anticipate being within the local distribution chain.
What in the world is high osmotic?
Enough sugar to preserve it. Jellies, jams,
okay.
Those type of things. That's NCDA lingo there.
Okay.
Sorry.
Do you see any correlation to the farm helping out at Cooperative Extension, or is it a burden to Cooperative Extension?
It's an asset to us to have a place we can do hands-on learning. And that's one thing we're looking at with the community garden, is making it a learning experience. These individuals, and we had that this past year, that's sort of where we saw it happening. They said, I've got room for a garden at home, but I want to come out there one year and learn. And people that have gardened for close to 40 years come out there and said, this was very much worth the price for what I've learned here the first 5 weeks. And so we're looking at it as being a hands-on educational experience. And like we said with both the farmers, that's not being duplicated very well anywhere else in the state. And I think the same thing with the community garden side of it's being duplicated other places, but it's very nice to have a hands-on activity that we can do. And the successes we have of training a person to farm is going to be a lot more valuable with a facility like this.
About 3 years ago, there was I saw an article about an heirloom tomato native to Cabarrus County or originated in Cabarrus County. Has that been propagated, or is that that's what I'd heard, and that's what it read. It was a tomato that was unique to Cabarrus County, and I didn't know if that has come to fruition or not. You got a smile on your face, so.
I am unfamiliar with that.
Okay.
We've had in years past, we've had individuals at the farmers market that had heirloom tomatoes. They called them no-name tomatoes that they sold year after year, fairly good tomatoes, but I'm not familiar with any ongoing heirloom local.
So you can't trust everything in the paper? It was not in the Tribune, I'll tell you that. Thank you.
Since you mentioned the Food Policy Council, do you have any openings on that council? Or are you full?
Well, we're in the, this is the first year where we had a full roll-off of basically a third of the council. Food Policy Council interviewed 4 potential members, and then they would like to, and they have extended membership to all 4 of those this past Thursday. I have one member who thinks that he will have to step away within the next few months, and so that would be an opening coming up. But the openings that we will be filling based on the retirements and one person who had to relocate will come before you all next month. But yes, and definitely, the other thing the council's trying to do is to not wait until the openings come about. They would love to get applications across my desk and even interview folks ahead of time so that then when an opening does come up, they can more quickly send it to you all.
So if someone were interested in the Food Policy Council or more information about the incubator farm, can you give your email address and your phone number?
Absolutely.
So they can contact you?
They can call my office at 704-920-2206 or email me at ajnewton@cabarruscounty.us, and I can send applications out.
Okay, great. And of course, any other applications, we have numerous committees can go through our clerk, but I want to make sure that, because this will be on TV, that people know how to get in touch with you.
Absolutely.
I think y'all are doing a great job out there, and I know that when you first started, I wasn't exactly certain what to expect, and I think you've by far exceeded at least my expectations, so, as a city girl, so I appreciate everything that you're doing out there. Thank you. Next up, we have Londa Strong to talk about the Wallace Park operations, and David Pugh is here, and Mayor Kathy Kitts. We're happy to welcome you. Londa, you want them to come up with you for this too? Okay, if y'all will please come up too.
What we submitted on our agenda item was the estimated cost to operate Rob Wallace Park. Because as you know, we're all getting closer to Rob Wallace Park becoming reality since we got our Park and Recreation Trust Fund grant awarded this in 2012. So management and myself met with Kathy and David a couple of months ago, somewhere in that neighborhood. Gave them the updated numbers because we had done this previously, but then didn't get the grants. And this is, they took this to their council, what the information that you have, and this is the proposal that they came back with.
Go ahead and get.
You want me to?
Yeah, go right ahead.
This is in an email to Mr. Mike Downs, and the council made the following motion that was approved. Midland would pay the following amounts for staff positions, $28,799 for the first year. This represents half of the cost of a ranger and the full cost of the paddle boat position, $15,000 for the second year, $10,000 for the third year, and the council also requests that once Cabarrus County and Midland do reach an agreement, is that council would like to see bids for the project for the Wallace Park within a 6-month period, and then council also requests to receive a percentage of the revenues from the boat rentals once that service does start at the park.
And the council is wanting to get this started. We've been wanting to do it for quite some time, and we've gone back and forth and talked about the various items. And basically, we brought it back to council and said, look, if we're going to get this done, we need to take and penny up some money and figure out what we need to do next. So that's part of what we're trying to do, is coming back to you with a proposal and looking at the cost and try to make sure we can get this park going, because it's been a long time, and we need to move forward with it. And this council is committed to moving forward and to helping out. So, any questions?
Before you have questions, one other thing that I wanted to offer is in the information that was in your agenda pack, we see the $128,000. That does not include the maintenance cost. And if I remember correctly, I believe that was just a little over $200,000. Of course, that was all the startup costs with cost with trucks and mowers and those things. So I just wanted to make sure you realize that, because I did not include that in the agenda item.
And you've already hired the program manager and the supervisor.
Correct.
So those two positions have already been hired. So that's why we went with these last two positions.
So what would be the annual maintenance that you said? I mean, general figure.
Yeah, Mr. Billiper's here, he can add that as well. I'm not sure if he's got that number or not, but it would require a staff person, at least one staff person, plus equipment, fertilizers, irrigation, maintenance of all those things as well.
With startup and everything on an annual basis, that's actually a little bit old. It's about $215,000.
But then yearly?
On an annual basis, you probably cut it down to somewhere in the $150,000 area, since we'll have most of the equipment purchased.
Yeah, just to sort of give you an update of where we're at, we're purchasing the land. It's 197 acres in Midland, and we have some money. Ms. Strong, I'm not sure what that number is now. What, about 1.5, 1.6?
Correct. In that neighborhood.
We've got 1.6 in that general area there to start on phase 1 construction, but through the last 3 or 4 budget years, we've not had the funds available to hire staff. And that's what's been the holdup right now, is the staff, and then we're also looking for a second entrance into the property as well. That's when the discussions started with the mayor and Mr. Pugh as well. They're anxious to get a park in their part of the county. So they've offered, at the time, they had offered a couple of different options. And as we've started moving forward, they've got other things on their plate. And then now that they've actually had a formal discussion, this is what they come back with, a proposal for you to look at. Nothing to answer tonight. Again, this is just something for you to look at and then advise staff or direct staff on how you would like to proceed with that. So, but that's why there is no park there right now, just for the general public who's listening. We have purchased the property, just funds have not been available to start up, as well as hire staff, and then to maintain that staff on those recurring costs every year.
Is this an item for us at our retreat? Have you thought about putting that? Do you have any questions now concerning where we are in the phase? I mean, I think we could put it on for discussion at our retreat to try to, see kind of where we're looking down the road and when, it works into our budget as far as those staff members would go. Because, of course, obviously, we haven't had any budget discussions yet, and we'll do that in a couple months. But does anybody have any?
What's y'all's revenue stream for the gas line that's through the county?
That is, this past year it was about $226,000. Council has dedicated that to sewer construction and leveraging for sewer grants for staff time, and then loans as well, just because obviously we have very little sewer for growth in that part, in our part of the county.
What is the projections for the future?
The future, and these are projections from the city of Monroe. They range between that $226,000 into the $240,000 range over the next 4 to 5 years.
And then after that?
I have not received any projections past 5 years from the city of Monroe. That all depends on the development there and then also development along the gas pipeline.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And one key thing to note on the gas line income is that we're using that to try to bring the sewer into some of our areas that have a lot of black water issues and a lot of, quality of life issues. So that's part of what we've been working on religiously for the last several months, is trying to get that done. So that's why that money's been dedicated to those projects, to try to get some people to some relief. So, and I just wanted you to know that's why we've dedicated that money over there, is trying to get that done.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions?
Okay. Any other thoughts? Commissioner Morris, have you, I'm not certain where you are on all the orientation that I'm sure you've been doing lately. Have you had a chance to look at the plans for the Rob Wallace Park?
I have not had a chance to look at them in detail.
Okay. Well, I know that there's a very good report that Ms. Strong can get to you. I've used numerous times to help you kind of get up to date on it. And so we'll try to see if we can, at our retreat, have a little bit of time to kind of talk about it again and kind of get your ideas on the thoughts that everybody has on the park and kind of a time frame. Maybe we can help staff understand a time frame that we feel comfortable with. So,
Ms. Poole, when is your retreat?
February 1st and 2nd.
Okay.
And I'm sure we can make sure that you get the information on that once we.
Right, because I just want to give council an update tomorrow night and
Sure.
that when you'll be meeting and everything.
And then, of course, it would be, any positions would be a part of the budget process. That
Correct.
we would have between now and June.
Okay.
When we adopt it, so.
Okay. Perfect.
Since you guys are here, do you want to give, and since you're on TV for this month, do you want to give any updates on your plans? You have all kinds of plans going on in Midland, Town Hall and everything else that you have going. Anything that you want to share with everybody?
Well, we, as a council, have committed and also purchased and had some land donated to us to build a new town hall. So we're going through the process of trying to determine how we should have it look, all the different elements with the design piece. And hopefully, within the next several months, we'll have some bids out for people to bid on some things and try to get the town hall started and do groundbreaking sometime this year. We want to have it built by June of next year and project moving in. And we also have, we've got a lot of different things coming up as far as our land use, some of the projects that are going on with development and some of the housing and things. So we've got a lot that's on our plate right now and trying to get it all done.
That's for sure. You guys are really busy, which takes us to the next item that we have on our agenda, Commissioners, about Sheriff's Office Enhanced Police Protection Proposal.
Correct.
From the town of Midland.
Want to give it to Sheriff Riley a seat?
Oh, come here. Sheriff, please come up and
Join
join
us.
the conversation.
Since even before I was hired, the Midland Town Council has been in discussions with Sheriff Riley and the County Commission about a way to enhance the police protection in the southern end of the county, specifically in the Midland municipal limits. And what's always been brought up, and again in discussion with Sheriff Riley and the leadership of Midland, is, well, how do we, in the interim, kind of start doing enhanced police protection outside of the basic zone coverage that the Cabarrus County Sheriff's Office offers. And one of the things we've been looking at is a program that Cabarrus County does with some of the other municipalities in the town, or in Cabarrus County, via, I believe it's Mount Pleasant and then the town of Harrisburg, are matches where the municipality provides a part of the match to receive basically what would be a full 24 hours of protection. So it would be 2 officers, 2 cars fitting the equipment, and then the county provides the other 2. And so what the Midland Council has tasked the mayor and I with in examining this, and we've done so the past couple of years, is the council has not made a decision on this yet, but is just curious of the county commissioners. And obviously, in talking with Mr. Downs, this would have to be something that's evaluated during the budget process. But the council did ask that the mayor and I come up and just talk to the commission about their thoughts, if there are any at this point in time, on the 2-2 match, because obviously, and Mr. Downs might have something to add to this, that requires 2 staff positions from Cabarrus County as far as that goes. So, Sheriff Riley, if you have anything to add to that.
Naturally, we provide that service now through our regular services, and each year, annually, I go down and try to address the town and their board, and just go over the numbers, go over some of the things that we saw through the year, things we can do better, that sort of thing. And each year they ask us, hey, let us know when we get to a point where you feel like there needs to be enhanced protection down there, no matter what the option is. And about 2 years ago, I told them that it was probably time to start thinking about it. Don't wait until it gets time to do it. Gives you a little bit of time to prepare. There's a lot going on both ends from the Locust side all the way to the Mecklenburg side, and a lot stretched out between there that is bringing a little bit more traffic and a few more calls, and I felt like it was time that they started doing that. And they have been in discussion for the last 2 years with the county, with us, and with county staff about the possibility of that happening, and felt like that this may be the year to try to pull something together. So I've tried to help them in doing that, and we provide them the numbers. We have also I've gone down twice in the last 6 months and presented to the council numbers and answered questions for them.
Yeah, as Chairman Poole said, this is definitely going to be a budget issue as we start looking at the needs of Midland, but also the rest of the needs in the county. And I know Sheriff as well is going to probably, as he has in the past, bring it to your attention that they're already deficient in several officers. So it'll just to be what the board would have to consider, which is the priority and that type of stuff. So we will be continuing to monitor. I think Mayor Kitts is going back to her board now just to report that they have reported to you guys now, and that we're going to be talking about it, and we'll keep them posted throughout our budget process as we will keep you posted, and as we start receiving reports in or preliminary budgets in from other departments as well. So just to give you an update, this would be 2 and 2, but it's not a one-time thing. It's a recurring cost every year. So as you do with the other towns, you're paying for those additional officers every year, not just 1 year.
So can we look at whether or not we need to continue to do that?
Yes, sir.
Not can we should look at whether we continue to do that, is whether if we're providing 2 and they're providing 2, whether that's something we can continue to afford.
That's correct.
Okay.
Any questions?
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
I want to add that as we look at those, that you involve us with that, because there are a lot of benefits there too.
There is no doubt about it, is that's my intent, is to understand a little bit further and also understand the pros and cons as we move forward.
Right. And one key thing that I think we've talked about is the numbers, just not in the Midland area, but in the unincorporated area that's outside of the Midland town limits, is, the calls and things are increasing a great deal. And we are getting a lot of individuals coming from Mecklenburg County and other places coming into our area and actually doing a lot of damage. And we had one storage unit, 30 units were broken into. So, there's a lot that's happening, and we've been monitoring the numbers. We get those every month from our community resource officer, Mr. Wagner, and we keep a good watch on that to kind of say, okay, where are we at, and do we need it? And council is completely dedicated to trying to get this done and trying to make sure that we can provide service to our citizens. And, the amount of time that it takes for an officer to respond varies because they may be in another area backing someone up. So, we're really looking for a way to better serve our citizens, not just in the town limits, but in the surrounding area. So, and we will be discussing this during our budget process as well. So when you have your discussions, if you could keep us in the loop, that would be greatly appreciated. All right.
Yeah, that won't be a problem. Keeping you in the loop. It's good to have you here. I know that Commissioner Morris mentioned, I hate calling on you so much tonight, but I know you mentioned to me that you went to their town council meeting. You're our liaison for Midland.
I did, and one of the things that impressed me particularly was the number of citizens that were there,
yes,
interested and participating. And of course, this enhanced law enforcement was discussed at that meeting, as well as the city hall and the library. And as I read on the front page of the newspaper this week, Midland is rising. And it's great to be able to participate.
And we appreciate you coming down and being part of the audience. And one of the things that, as he mentioned, we did have a lot of people there talking about the police protection and needing the enhanced officers in our area. And we had one gentleman asked for a raise of hands of everyone that was in favor of the police protection, and they all raised their hands. And we also had a citizen that went out and collected over 300 signatures of individuals that were in support of enhanced police protection, and for the council to look at what it's going to take for us to afford it and to be able to provide that service. So we've got a lot of data and a lot of other information if you want that and you want to see that. Okay?
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's good to see both of you.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Commissioners.
coming to our meeting. Thank you, Sheriff. Next thing we have Kevin Grants here and Kyle Billifer. And they're going to give us an update on the construction and demolition landfill.
Good afternoon. Hard to believe, but it's been almost a year since we last discussed this, and I think when we were last having this discussion about airspace left at the landfill, I think we were talking July of 2013 or end of June. We've conducted an airspace survey back in mid-October. Megan, I think if you can turn the page right there. Tough to read, but we did in October to look to see what we've got. Done a survey, looked at the amount of waste that's placed in the landfill, and for a couple of reasons, it looks now that based on an average of 1,700 tons of waste coming into our landfill per month, that we've got enough airspace to last until May of 2014. Couple of reasons, some reasons good, some reasons not so good. One of the good reasons is the fact that our airspace utilization factor, or if you want to look at it as the compaction rate's actually gotten better. Back in 2010, we were 0.54 tons per cubic yard. We've increased that to 0.70 tons per cubic yard, and that's basically a couple reasons for that. It's compacting the amount of waste into the landfill, and I think part of it is that new expansion area that we've started to place waste into. We've been working on a relatively flat surface for the last 10 months or since October of 2011, able to get the compactor to actually compact better and more efficiently. The other factor is the fact that we're a little slower, giving our staff time to do it properly instead of hustling and getting to the next load like that. It goes back to the other thing is the fact that the tonnages coming into the landfill has decreased. Megan, if you one more page. If you look at it there, fiscal year 2012, we were just shy of 20,000 tons. Looking at this fiscal year, we're at 8,500 tons, and actually, if you look at December's numbers, we only think received about 955 tons. Part of that is the fact that 3 operating days we were closed due to the holiday, but it does show that we are decreasing, but in the same token, we're right on about that 1,700 tons per month pace. So that's why we're fairly confident that we have airspace at the landfill to last till, like I said, May of 2014. A good thing is the fact that in terms of financial situation, we're still operating with a positive cash flow, reducing the general fund liability. I'm not sure if you had the extra page, Megan, there was an addition right there. Looking at the general fund contribution, if we stretch this out to 2014, is $203,000. I believe last year when we discussed this, it was in the $700,000 range. Now, there's a couple factors. It isn't just the fact that we're stretching this out further. We looked at the cost of annual monitoring is not as high as what we projected. And when you look at the post-closure estimate, and what that is once we close, you're responsible for 30 years to maintain that site, doing groundwater monitoring, methane gas monitoring, and just overall site maintenance. It's very difficult to estimate what we're going to be at in 30 years or how much we're going to need, and we use the state's model in terms of determining that. But we did reduce the estimate from $3.5 million to $3.2 million. So that has an effect there, but needless to say that we do have some more life there, and I think as long as we continue to operate the landfill efficiently, we can reduce the liability of the general fund going forward. Another thing is, I think when we last discussed this, we talked about looking at expansion further to the south, and I think Megan, back up one right there. Tough to see. The area that's outlined in pink is the current area that we're expanding, or that we're actually placing waste into. That was the last expansion. That area in yellow is actually area that Diener has approved for expansion. It's roughly 1.9 acres, or about 60,000 cubic yards. So if you look at the airspace analysis that was supplied there, and if we factor in if we get 1,700 tons a month, and the compaction rate or the airspace utilization factor is similar, that'll buy us an extra 21 months of life there. So that'll take us into 2016 if that's the course we deem to go. But like I said, right now we're looking at mid-2014. In terms of future ideas for the landfill, that area to the south, like I said, when we met with Diener on expanding, they've been very hesitant to allow us to expand without a liner if we go further, because there is some groundwater contamination issue coming from the old municipal solid waste landfill site that's migrating to the west. And the big issue that the state has with expanding construction demolition landfill sites without a liner is they want to make sure that that area underneath that site is relatively free from groundwater, so when we put the monitoring wells, they can determine if something's going on or not. With some of that groundwater migrating to the west, has not left our property at this point, but you can't isolate that area. So that's been a big area or big concern with the state in terms of letting us go further. But we're very grateful that we do have the option for another 2 acres right there. One concept that we're looking at is an expanded compost facility, using that approximate 17 acres of land to the south of there. And what I mean by doing expanded composting is actually taking the city of Concord and Kannapolis primarily, and hopefully everybody else within the county, using their yard waste, leaves, sending it to this site, and then starting to incorporate at first pre-consumer food waste, and then hopefully after that juncture, once we get that nailed down, is going post-consumer food waste, and starting to kind of close the loop and starting to divert a lot of this waste that goes to the landfill at the Speedway, bring it to our site, composting it, making beneficial compost that we can use, especially like for the incubator farm and for other areas, and kind of market it that way. We're still looking into feasibility. We might have something that we can present to you next month, but at this time it's still in the formulation stage. Other areas that we're considering at our landfill site is C&D recycling, trying to expand what we do there, possibly with wood, carpet, concrete, shingles, items like that, and trying to kind of reduce what goes into landfill and expand and keep the life increasing there. Another item that we're looking at as well is the possibility of a second household hazardous waste facility at the landfill site. Either closing the one at our general services road location just due to lack of space, or creating a second one, which I prefer, and hopefully tapping to the people that live in that portion of the county and able to take some of their household waste items to us so it can be disposed of properly. So that's kind of one thing that I want to do, and start to make that kind of a recycling super center at that facility, because the infrastructure is in place right now. And that's one thing that we're looking at strongly here. So that's roughly what I have here. I don't know if you have any questions.
Any questions, commissioners, or comments?
Why is our tipping fee $35?
We increased the tipping fee from, actually it was it's from 32 to 37. That includes a North Carolina state tax of $2. So I think at the recommendation that we had back last January, we did do that, and actually that is helping us in terms of our financial stability at the landfill.
Just in looking from what I can tell is that we're under the average of North Carolina. Average of North Carolina is 38.14 per ton. Is there a reason why we don't go to $39 per ton, which is being picked up by Mecklenburg County?
I think when we did discuss that, we wanted to stay slightly under the average.
Why?
I think that was one thing that we wanted to provide as service to our residents, that we didn't want to start competing with the commercial landfills.
No, but I'm saying this is a C and D.
Correct. We didn't want to compete
How many
with.
residents of Cabarrus County are bringing construction and demolition waste out there in their pickup
Well, I
trucks or what
agree-
have you?
I agree. The mix is probably, if I give a guess, is probably 75% commercial, 25% residential. We can raise, if the board deems that we want to do that, we can raise the tipping fees there.
I mean, if we raise the tipping fees, we increase the life of the landfill, right?
Or you send them down the road.
That's what I'm saying. You send them down the road, and it increases the life of our landfill. Is that correct, Mr. Villafur?
Yes, it would if you increase the limit of the airspace, but you stop the dollars coming in, that's closing the gap.
Correct. So it's a matter of meeting the right balance.
Yep.
But at the same time, looking at the longevity of the lifespan of a landfill.
We looked back at the actual video from the board meeting when it was discussed to raise, and tried to basically look at the back and forth talk about what we were supposed to raise it to, and we basically came to the conclusion that we weren't supposed to go to the highest level, we were supposed to stay a little bit under it. Now, we can look at it again, but I promise you it was me that brought that concern to that table that day and said, let's go back and look at the video, because we had several different opinions coming from several different board members. We can gladly raise it again.
Well, so, I mean, I understand. I'm just trying to figure out is what is the right balance so that we have something that is beneficial to the community, but it's where the developer is also taking the responsibility when they're bringing in so much, 1,700 tons. I mean, that's 34,000 pounds, or close to thereabouts, right?
Yes, which is actually, if you look at the last 5 years, is significantly less. We were averaging 3,000 tons a month 4 years ago, I believe.
We've tried to look at the numbers on what's coming in to figure out if we are too low. We also kind of keep an eye on, in terms of if building is going up and what percentage it's going up, and then try to kind of match correlations to that. But, you know, obviously any assistance or input from the board would be appreciated, but that's just what we went on based on the discussion last time.
Okay, thank you.
So you mentioned the $2, so are they paying 37 and we're netting 35?
Correct. $2 of the dollars goes to the state.
So the actual tipping fee they're paying right now is 37.
Correct.
$2 goes to the state.
Yes.
And $35 stay with us. So you would be looking at, we're just a little over $1 something underneath, not $3.
But I think when you're looking at the state average, or the average in the region, like the 38 and change,
Is
that
the
does
tax is
include-
not included. Tax is not included.
Well, I thought that, okay. I
Nope,
thought that was.
state solid waste tax is not included, $38.14 per ton. Macon County is at about $58 per ton.
I think that when we get into the budget discussions,
And that was presented by CDM Smith.
so during the budget discussions, if you could look at, I don't know if there's any way that you can do an analysis or try to get some information on if the increase in the fee this year has impacted, if that's the reason why there's been the impact of the amount coming in, or if there is a lack of need for the, I mean, a lack of just material to come in, because that could be the reason why it's down, not necessarily the fee. And
Probably
try
a
to,
combination of a
Probably.
bunch of sources.
you can look at that, and then when we get into our budget discussions in a few months, I think that would be an appropriate time to let us look at that again. But I do remember the conversation, too, that we wanted to be a little under to make sure that some of our neighboring county over that way, if you will, didn't completely drive by us, and that we still had some
Well, the problem is
revenue coming in.
their landfill's in Concord.
I don't disagree. But if we could get that, that'd be great. Any other?
Well, in addition to that information, you know, it'd be interesting to know what the tipping fees are for some of the places located in our surrounding area. So if we say ours is too high and they're going to take it down the road, where are they taking it and what's their tipping fee?
What are they if they go to Speedway, or can they go to the Speedway?
Speedway's $39.
And the Highway 49 landfill is 38 and change. And a lot of that's dependent on the customer and whether they have deals based on, volume and items like that. But their base rate is about $38.50 down on Highway 49.
So everything going to Cabarrus County landfill is $37.
Correct.
Yeah, we don't have any special deals or anything like that.
Why does the state take $2 in tax?
The $2 goes for looking at old landfill sites that did not have liners and need to be cleaned up, is where that money goes to. And for those folks who can't afford it, and that's why we kind of keep that $3.2 million in the piggy bank.
Okay, I think that'll be a good discussion during the budget time. This has finished our section 3. Commissioners, let's take about a 5-minute break, if that's okay. We'll come back in, 5-10 minutes, and we'll come back in and start on discussion items for action at our regular meeting. So we'll take a break.